Morning, everyone. We are live this morning with Eve, myself, Dan Boyles, and Chad as well. Hello, everyone.
How we doing?
Hi, guys.
Thanks all for joining on this lovely Thursday morning. We're hoping some of you have a bit nicer weather than in Bridgend this morning. Right, so today we're going to be talking about Copilot adoption for your legal firm. So we've got some really exciting topics to cover. First of all, let's do a quick introduction of to who is presenting today. So we got Dan Boyles. Hello, Dan.
Hey, Eve, how we doing?
Hello, thank you for joining. And then I am Eve, the marketing manager at CSG. Dan, do you want to give a little bit of intro about who you are and what your role is at
Yeah,
First
sure.
AI?
Yeah, cool. Yep. So I'm Dan. I am head of AI strategy slash technologies at a company called First AI. Partner with CSG, do some really exciting work together. It's our job to specifically help businesses use Copilot and adopt it into their workplace. Been doing it for quite a long time now, and we mainly play in the legal space, and we accidentally fell into the legal space. Why, we're going to hear that today. But yeah, we've helped businesses from 10 seats right up to 6,500 seats with their entire AI strategy around Copilot. So we do adoption, we do training, we do the whole governance piece, the reporting, and everything from there, really. So yeah, thanks for having us on. It's not my first webinar with you, Eve. We've done lots before, so excited to do them again.
It's good. We need to start this rolling, eh? All right, I was saying the last one was on Business Premium. If anyone missed that, it is on our YouTube page if you want to go take a look. But yeah, today we're talking about Copilot and specifically within the legal sector. So this is a bit of the agenda that we'll be going through today. An overview of Copilot's capabilities. We all know what Copilot is by now, so we're going to be keeping that brief, but specifically why legal firms need to adopt it and why they're choosing Copilot as a generative AI tool. We'll be given some real-world examples of how leading legal firms are implementing Copilot with some significant impact cases as well. And then, of course, how do you implement Copilot strategically, safely? We'll be going through some strategies and best practices for that, insights into training, and then going through some of the CSG offerings because we offer some dedicated workshops and training for you guys to get more confident with your AI tool. And then the fun part, which I'm really excited for, to be taking a look at some legal specific prompts. And that's what I am really, really excited for today. So that's a quick overview of the agenda. So here's a little bit about CSG to anyone who is new joining us. And this is the first webinar actually we're hosting with our rebrand. So we've just celebrated our 40th year in trading this year. CSG has been offering cybersecurity and IT services to businesses since 1985, making us one of the longest IT companies in Wales. I know a lot of people always ask, well, did you even need an IT company back in the 1980s? But yes, there were bugs, and there's actually a really fun story about one of our managers finding one of the first bugs on a computer system all the way back in the 80s. So if you ever want a fun morning, just give him a call about that because it is a very interesting story. We've got offices in Bridgend, Bristol, Exeter, and we have around over 5 million turnover. And of course, we're ISO accredited, Cyber Essentials Plus. Our services, we have structured it into a consult, transform, and protect kind of layout. So that just kind of gives you an idea of the story path. But when you partner with CSG, we are not just there providing one service, we are there with you throughout everything. We provide cloud consulting with BT landlines cutting off soon. That's fast approaching. You need to be moving your business's services to the cloud. So we offer strategic support with that. So if anyone wants to chat about that as well. We also then do transform services with the infrastructure change. We know that a lot of companies are upsizing, downsizing. If you don't need the office space, we support with that. We support how to make your systems accessible from anywhere with more people working from home. There's more demand these days to jump on the demand for that. Sorry, I said demand twice. Couldn't think of another word. Right.
Demand. There's demand for demand at the moment.
Demand, exactly. And then the final service, obviously, cybersecurity. Everything's becoming more aware of security with threats getting cleverer each day. IA threats becoming more of the threat at the moment. So we provide support for that as well. Really quick, covering over accreditations. which is a really exciting time for us. We have just achieved the Sophos Platinum Partner Badge, which is amazing achievement. Really happy about that. So that's just showing our dedication to providing the latest security services partners with Sophos. We're also Microsoft Solution Designated Partner, Data Platinum Partner, HP Preferred Partner, Cisco, and Acronis. Moving on to our AI offerings. So why would you partner with CSG for your AI strategy? We've got a Copilot adoption package, and that means that when you sign up for Copilot, we're not just going to give you the package and leave you to it. We've got workshops, meaning that you can have ongoing training for your staff members. A lot of people are using AI, but they don't really know how to use it to get the best out of the tools. So we can help build a community around safely using AI tools and raising education, knowledge, and awareness for your employees on the risks of AI tools, making your company just more adhere to the policies. We all know that in each sector, legal sector specifically, today we're going to be talking about, you've got unique rules and regulations you need to adhere to, which was what we can support with. So why Copilot? Copilot is... Sorry, the slides are
Sorry.
open. I'm just waiting for the slides to catch up.
I'm the click master today, and the clicking isn't clicking. It's quick enough. Sorry.
So why Copilot for the legal sector? Why should you choose it as your AI tool? So legal research efficiency. When you are doing your research, Copilot can quickly analyze and summarize vast amount of legal text, meaning that you don't need to sit through and read through each document. However, why choose Copilot over other AI tools that can do that? Copilot is really high accuracy levels, meaning that they can help draft and review legal documents with the highest standards. It can flag inconsistencies, suggest improvements, and most importantly, ensure that you're compliant with the legal standards. Client communication support. So how do you improve your communications with your customers and clients? Copilot offers ways that you can easily manage client relationships, with a really innovative way to use the tool. And then internal knowledge, including past case studies and strategies. You can share that with your team through easily made templates, making institutional knowledge more accessible and actionable. And then one final point from me before I pass over to Dan. We always try and show why there is demand for the legal sector to move to AI tools. And so here are some stats to support that. Approximately 34 legal departments in top corporations expect to have key tasks automated with AI. So that means that if you're a legal practice and you're not offering AI, then your barristers and employees will start to think, why aren't we catching up with all the other firms? So 82% of lawyers are currently or plan to adopt AI into their work, and the Law Society of England and Wales suggests that business leaders expect AI in the legal sector to grow by 31% in the next 5 years. So that's a little bit of a summary of why we're here in CSG, and I'm going to hand it over to Dan. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you very much, Eve. Cheers for that. Yes, so I just want to go back onto this slide very quickly. Sorry, I woke up, I'm dying of a cough today. Yeah, thanks for joining, everyone. Thanks for coming onto the webinar. Like I said, my name's Dan. I work alongside CSG really closely. You're also joined by Chad. I'll bring him on screen in a little bit, and you can say hello to Chad as well. He'll do some demos for us. But Copilot, AI, everything's just a bit overwhelming at the moment, right? And we're going to talk about that in today's session. But the main part of it is that I work in the intersection between law and AI. We've done it for a lot of legal businesses now over the last year or so, and we've really seen the demand dry up. So I've been helping professionals across the UK, America, and especially into Europe, adopt Copilot and reimagine how they work. So today I want to show you why Copilot might just be the best assistant you've never had, some of the things that you can do with it, but also the reasons why businesses are doing it from there. And we can see on the screen, ultimately, at the moment, there's a lot of challenges that businesses have, but specifically in the legal sector. So we've got too many tools that don't speak to each other. We've got endless hours we're spending summarizing documents, finding the right data. And if you think about it, we've now got more data coming in than we've ever had. We've got more customer meetings than we've ever had. We've got more admin and actions that we need to do after. We've got a growing pressure to be able to do more faster without compromising either the compliance or client trust. right? Couple on top of that, you've got more AI tools. It seems that every single day there's a new tool coming out. Every third-party platform has its own AI feature. There's new things from OpenAI. There's new things from businesses like DeepSeek, Claude. We've got Grammarly. We've got all these awesome tools out there. But actually, how do we use them in a compliant way? How do we use them in a safe way? And how do we do it so it doesn't compromise anything around the trust from our clients or affect what we're doing on businesses? We're seeing a lot of focus, especially in the media, around AI and actually what it means for businesses. And I, for one, I'm just overwhelmed. Now, I'm lucky enough I get to speak around AI all day long, work with AI all day. But for me, I get overwhelmed, and it's what we do as a business. So I can fully put myself in the customer's position and understand why it can be overwhelming to work out what AI solution to use. Is Copilot the best? Is Copilot Chat the best? What does Copilot do? What's the hype around it? And that's what we're going to try and get out of today. Okay, so we're going to walk you through all the different slides. Chad's going to do some demos at the end, but we're going to, most importantly, throughout this, focus on how you can split Copilot on the usage between billable staff, non-billable staff, and then look at all the different departments we can use it for in that. We'll talk about the risks, we'll talk about the compliance considerations, how to make sure AI adoption doesn't just tick a box. And being completely honest, we've worked on some incredible adoptions, but we've also had really challenging adoptions as well. And the challenging adoptions, I think, is where we start thinking about Copilot, especially as a technology. It can't be that. It has to be a human-led change in the business. And that can pose quite a significant challenge sometimes. This is unlike any other tech stack I've worked on. I've worked on Azure, I've worked on SharePoint, kind of shows how old I am as well. I've worked across Teams, across modern workplace, across the security, cybersecurity, M365, and all of those have been technology changes. We give technology to the staff use it, and we can normally mitigate around that. The beautiful thing about AI, specifically Copilot, is it's so unique to you. And what I want us to take away from this is that Copilot actually, rather than thinking of it as an AI assistant, as something that can access your your data estate or your applications, Copilot makes you good at things you're not good at in your business. And quite simply, that's the easiest way I can explain it. But if we take something that makes us good at something we're not good at, so for example, making PowerPoints, I'm absolutely fantastic at. That's what I've done for a long time. What I'm not good at is Excel. I worked nearly 8 years with Microsoft, and my Excel skills are 2 out of 10 at best. Anything I have to do around that is quite a challenge for me. Things like follow-up and actions from meetings. If I've got a day full of meetings, normally that means an extra day's worth of admin. That's something I'm not necessarily inherently good at. So I use Copilot on that. But because it's so unique and personal, so the way that I use Copilot, for example, will be completely different to how Chad uses Copilot. It'll be completely different to how Eve uses Copilot. There's all this different stuff on there. How do we focus out on adoption? And if we do not put the people first, if we don't put your users and the individual staff at the heart of this, it just becomes another investment that actually you don't get the best out of. Right, so let's get started throughout the presentation. Let's have a look at how we can use it in legal departments, and let's look exactly why Copilot is on here. Now, the legal world is changing faster than ever, and at the heart of that change is AI. Like I said, it still feels confusing, risky, or out of reach. Let's have a look at exactly what Copilot is. Okay, so first of all, if you haven't seen Copilot, it's an AI tool that's integrated into every single M365 application that you have. Word, Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, Teams, OneNote, there's a Copilot feature built in. The beauty that Copilot has is it sees every single bit of data that you have on your tenant as a user. So for every file that you have access to on SharePoint, Copilot has access to. It sees every meeting that you've recorded. It has access to your inbox, to your chats when you allow it, and it has access to everything. So all of a sudden, we've got a mass data analysis tool. On top of that, you've got things such as agents, where you can start to extend Copilot out and start using it in different parts of the business. You can build your own personal agents as well. The biggest thing that customers, especially that we work with, CSG work with, and one of the biggest focus is Copilot is really safe and compliant. And what I mean by that is I almost do a bit of a head in hand moment when I see businesses say, hey, I've just uploaded a set of books onto ChatGPT, onto Claude, onto Grok, onto insert any other name. Where does the data go? Right now, we've got the EU GDPR AI Act. That's a lot of acronyms to say very quickly. We've had that, and it actually kicked in June this year. There's 3 parts of the GDPR UK AI Act, and the one now is saying that the data cannot be biased. It has to be used in a secure and compliant way, and it's quite a challenge for businesses to do. Now, if I upload some data onto a web AI, that data will be used to train the model. Therefore, we need to be very kind of thinking how, what data we put on there, and how would you feel as a customer, especially in a legal environment, if your data was being used to train global AI models, right? And it actually it makes you two things. If you're using some third-party applications, there's a whole thing around compliance. You will not be GDPR compliant if you are using certain tools in certain ways, specifically free versions. I'd just throw a caution out there now. The other thing is if someone does a subject access request or asks for their data to be deleted, it becomes nigh on impossible to do that with certain third-party tools. The beautiful thing around Microsoft is that actually anything that you do with Copilot stays within your M365 tenant. So any data that you put on there, whether it's sensitive data, whether it's GDPR related data, if you put it onto Copilot, it never gets used to train the Copilot model. It stays within your remit. You have full access. You can track it. You're compliant in your usage. So actually against ISO 42001 and the the EU GDPR Act around AI, you're compliant in your usage from there. The other good thing you have with Copilot, especially around the secure side, is actually you control what data Copilot can see. You can turn off entire sections of SharePoint for each individual user to see that Copilot can't use it. What we found within in the legal sector or the legal space, because you have data in so many different areas, you've got some data on SharePoint, you've got some on iManage, you've got some on your practice management systems, actually we can just turn data access off to that. You're protected against AI security and copyright risks. So there's a whole thing around this piece now where, is if AI generates something for me, can we be sued for copyright? Is it a copyright infringement? The answer is no. Microsoft back you on that. You're covered by all the security on the M365 tenant. You have complete control over who sees what. It's not a snooping tool. You cannot see what other people see. It is your Copilot, and that's how it works from there. The other good thing around the Copilot specific tool is it can only be used for work processes, and you can track every single part that comes through it. So if you do get a subject access request, if you have to do e-discovery, if you want to trace back any of the interactions, you can do it through the M365 tools, and you can go from there. Also can be accessed from any device that your M365 is on. So if you have your mobile device, laptops, hot desking, if you access it, it's a safe and secure way. So your safety is a massive part of this. And this is one of the reasons we've seen so many legal firms update into Copilot M365 as well. Now, some of the advantages you do have on here, basically it's integrated into your tools. We talked around it. It understands your work context. Because Copilot accesses your Microsoft Graph, it will go through and it will see everything that you do. It understands who you are, understands who your colleagues are. So say, for example, my favorite prompt that I use at 4 o'clock is, what is outstanding? I have an hour left of work. What is outstanding? And it will go through and it knows that Chad is my right-hand man. Chad works on most projects with me. So it'll prioritize anything that I've got with Chad. It will go through with my CEO and Dougaled and say, force rank those as being more important. It also understands the interactions and the words for things like important and urgent. If I come back after 2 or 3 days out of doing events and go, what do I need to do today? It will search my inbox, it will search my Teams, it will search my meetings, and it will provide recommendations through things such as, Chad has asked that this be done by the end of the day. You said you will deliver this yesterday and you haven't. Would you like to start on that now? It understands your work context. Because your Copilot is your specific Copilot, the more you use it, the more you interact with it, the more it understands you, your workflow, your job. It takes around 4 weeks to get that fully into the swing. And after that, it just keeps getting better. You've also got the extensibility, so you can extend into all your different applications, things like iManage, things like any practice management solutions that you have. You can build into there, and you can also access the data. So you're not just limited to your M365 environment. You can now tie into anything with an API. If you've got stuff on-prem, if you've got stuff on AWS, if you've got stuff on your third-party tools, you can tie into there and also use other models. And everything we talked around then. But the biggest thing is you can measure your impact into it. So you can go on and you can see how many people are using it, what they're using it for. Sorry, I'm an eager clicker today. In terms of why legal firms are choosing Copilot, look, we spoke about it. There's too many tools out there at the moment. It's a bit like AI overload. But actually, the biggest thing we're seeing in your environment, you are heavily regulated, right? Compliance is the biggest thing. Secure, we talked about the ChatGPT, we talked about Claude, we talked about Grok, we talked about DeepSeek. It's actually quite dangerous using those. Because again, where did the data go specifically in a legal environment? We haven't in the UK had a massive breakdown yet. We haven't had like a mass expose with AI at the heart of it, but there's going to be one coming soon. And it's going to be through things like shadow AI usage in your business. And what I mean by that is if everyone's using different tools, how do you track it? How do you have a stopgap? What's in place to stop anything with AI then causing a new data breach or a data leak from there? From the security side, again, you have complete control over it. Your data doesn't train the model. Anything that you do on your M365 tenant carries into your Copilot environment as well. So things like conditional access, making sure the files don't get shared, that's on there, integrated into your workplace, and then also the extensibility side. So it becomes quite a nice, attractive proposition. We've gone from having lots of tools to having one tool. It sees everything. It's built on ChatGPT 4.0. So in terms of capabilities, in terms of the features, in terms of the usability and the familiarity, it's exactly the same as using that in a nice, safe environment. It's one of the biggest reasons we're seeing legal firms on there. So implementation, challenges you are facing, shadow AI. If you're using ChatGPT, that's great. Even if you're using things like Grammarly, data isn't secure when you're using it unless you've got the full, all singing, all dancing product of it, and it's very expensive. Biggest problem I'm facing at the moment is unstructured data. Data needs to be the biggest thing. Data in, data out. If you are feeding any AI tool good data with good prompts, you get good responses out. But if you feed it bad data and bad prompts, it's going to get a bad response. Let's be completely real on this as well. A lot of businesses, I'd probably ask you the question if we were face to face, how good is your data organized? Do you have data structure in place? Do you have naming conventions in place? Do you have, like I do, version 1, version 1.1, version 1.2.1.2, version Chad edit? All these different things will make your AI usage and AI adoption quite challenging. However, with Copilot, it becomes easier on that because it just sees the data in there. The other challenge we're facing, identifying high value use cases. Remember what I said, AI is a people-led adoption, and we have to treat it as a human-led adoption. One of the biggest things that we face around this is how do we make sure that you, as a lawyer, whether you're billable, whether you're on the non-billable team, if you're in paralegal, if you're in litigation, if you're e-discovery, if you're in the contracts team, how do we make sure it's useful for you? Because we've got this incredible tool, but it's just kind of like starting in London and saying, I need to get to Bridgend and not knowing how to do it. There's trains, there's buses. It's kind of like how we have to think about AI. If we just expect people to be able to use it in the right way, it doesn't go well. And I've done over 50 adoptions now, and we've seen that. You almost need to have a clear plan, clear use cases for each department, and that's where CSG can support you on it as well. There's also a bit of skill shortage in businesses. Right, with cloud technology, with everything else, we've caught up, but with AI, we're slightly behind. Now, high value use cases for Copilot. We talked about this earlier on, but actually Copilot, the beautiful is because it's so unique, it can work across every single part of your business. And we're going to see this later on, from billable to non-billable, from e-discovery to management, to document review, to case review. It can really help you on that stuff. And remember what I said, it's good at making you good at things you're not necessarily good at. And that's something quite alien to have a think about. Because if someone, especially if my boss turns around and says, Dan, what you're not good at, the answer is going to be, I'm good at everything. But realistically, there are things that I am not good at. And from a business sense, we spend more time now doing things that aren't necessarily revenue generating, but we're kind of stuck in the mud. We're stuck in the mud because of what I said earlier. We have more data, we have more communications, we have more. Sorry, bear with me 2 seconds. I'm just slightly woke up quite a big cold. We have more data, we have more communications, we have more client actions. If we're trying to navigate all of this, 60% of our time is taken up with not the work we need to do. So the high value use cases you can use straight away in your practice, billable hour time entry, automating that precision. You need to do follow-up actions, it can be automated. Straight after a meeting, for example, being able to say, can you generate a summary of this meeting, include X, Y, and Z, attach this document, prepare for an email. And within 10, 15, 20 seconds, you have a perfect email with a summarization on there. Going through your research and case analysis, getting insights for your comprehensive evaluation and your legal research. Now, because Copilot accesses your internal database as much as you want it to see, you could be able to compare one document maybe to 5 or 10 years worth of historic data in under a minute. Compare this document against all similar cases on this SharePoint that talk around copyright infringement, specifically in the UK. And it will go through and it will match it because it has access to everything you see. It'll be able to pull that straight through. Also, document drafting. I will say this now, the single biggest pain in my day is putting stuff to make it look good to send to customers. And actually, if you think, if I'm on a meeting 5 hours a day, I have 5 hours worth of this to do, and all of a sudden I don't have time to do what I need to do. So basically being able to automate any of your document drafting, any of your branding, being able to create contracts, to be able to create case analysis, or anything on there, being able to do that quickly after a meeting, after a single prompt, that's where we see it. And then the last one, improving your audit processes as well. Copilot is a mass data analysis tool and a mass data manipulation tool. It's the most simple form of way of saying it. Makes you good at things you're not good at, but the analysis and manipulation is where you can really start to use it for your advantage on there as well. So what do we see? So the companies we worked with, so we see there's some quite large companies in the UK and globally. Legal teams have less time for training, right? It's all about the billable hours. How do we protect the billable hours? But how do we take your billable hours stuff and make sure you can use it properly, right? You want to be revenue generating, but you don't want to be coming to training. We do that through our adoption process with CSG. We coach in the flow of work, and also as well, we create champions in your business. So we'll work with you. We'll create you a prompt book of 150 or 200 prompts across all your departments. We'll coach those super users who will then be able to go out and help the rest of the business do it. What we've also seen is that if the accuracy of Gen AI isn't there, people stop using it. And throughout different tools that we've tested, some are really accurate, some aren't very accurate at all. You cannot afford to have inaccuracy in your business. Okay, if you don't feel confident in the responses you're getting, then you're not going to use it. It's a wasted investment, but actually it can be your biggest asset in there. What we do on this is we go through, we test all the prompts for you. We make sure that the prompts follow a certain pattern, that the prompts are tested on the data, and before the prompts are given to you, you have a really good way of working on there. And also as well, we see it have a massive impact on billable hours in a positive way. Boost your productivity and your fixed price at work. So how can we work around that to change it? Law is evolving. The way that we see billable hours is going to evolve, I think, in the next 2 or 3 years. The way that we service customers is going to evolve in the next 2 or 3 years. So how can we get you embedded with AI now to be able to do it in Copilot? Truly is the way of doing that. So what I want to talk through at the moment is basically everyone goes on to Copilot webinars, and we talk about how good it is and what it can do, and it can make your presentations. But I want to take you through some of these before I pass you over to Chad to actually do some demos. I want to break it down to show you the difference between the impact from your billable use cases and your non-billable use cases, and what departments they're actually in. Right, so let's start with one of the most time-intensive activities in the legal profession, your research and your case law analysis on here. With Copilot, you can literally instantly summarize core legal principles from a decision, compare documents across jurisdictions, or create lists of relevant precedents in there. Some of the prompts we're going to use, and we'll send this out afterwards so you have these prompts ready to go. But being able to summarize the key legal principles in a case name and then compare them to another case or jurisdiction. Massive. And some of the companies we work with, they have saved hundreds of hours on there. And when we talk about this whole time save things, I almost want to take it a step back. It's easy to save an entire working week if you start with 12 minutes a day. So 12 minutes a day of your working day across an entire week, that comes out to 1 hour a week. Sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze. I've woke up with the worst cold ever this morning. But if you save 12 minutes a day, 12 minutes a day is 1 hour a week. 1 hour a week over an entire year is 48 working hours. That's an entire working week of not just having to summarize a document. And that's only one thing. So if we start thinking about multiple documents, actually the impact now, you could be seeing up to a month, a year saved off of one activity. And if we start doing that just with one prompt, think of the possibilities you have on your billable, think of the possibilities you have on your capabilities inside your practice, and also think of the capabilities you have on how many customers you then can serve going forward from there. So when I talk about the business model changing, that's where we see it coming in. So just from this one prompt alone, being able to compare to another case in the UK, being able to compare to another case across the EU or into the US or anything, that could save an entire working week. List the most relevant precedents for a case involving this issue under this jurisdiction. And again, this is just using the internet. You can specify your jurisdiction. So whether it's in the UK, whether it's in the EU, or you're trying to compare from an international practice point, you can go through it and find it from there. And then lastly, extract the key arguments and court rulings from this case name in a structured format, or alternatively, find me all key arguments and court rulings from anything that regards to this case in a structured format, and you can upload multiple documents onto it as well. So now we're going just from an AI that can do things such as write me an email, create a PowerPoint slide, create a pitch to really drive the focus and the impact into your business itself. All of these, you can also upload your documents. We're going to see Chad do some demos of this later on, but you can upload specific documents to target from it. You can upload pictures, PDFs, reference specific websites, or you can use it to naturally go out and find the information from the internet or from your native infrastructure on your M365 tenant. So from a legal research and case law analysis, these are kind of the most basic ones you can do. If you haven't got M365 Copilot, you have access to Copilot Chat, which is the free version. You can also try these out as well. Try them out and see exactly the accuracy it comes back. And these are some of the biggest impacts we've seen. Going through onto here. Also got contract drafting review. So being able to draft a clause for a contract with provisions addressing the specified topic, or based on these previous last 2 years worth of contracts for this customer, can you draft a new clause for this? Absolutely powerful. It's a weapon of a prompt that we can use. Also as well, the biggest thing, I don't just use this for legal terms. I use this for pretty much everything that I do. Review this contract for inconsistencies, missing clauses, and potential risks. Highlight key issues. So for me, because it is non-stop all the time, you know, drafting, reviewing, negotiating, it's the bedrock of everything that you do, but it's also the bedrock of every customer interaction I have. It goes through and it finds out anything that I've done wrong in there. I might have put 1.5% on one page. On page 42, I might have typoed it and put 1.6%. Oh, if it go through and you're looking for contract inconsistencies around what the customer's expecting, contract inconsistencies versus last year's contract, the ability to analyze gigabytes of data in seconds and give you a consistent output that's relevant for your job is unmatched. I've not seen a tool better than Copilot doing it. Also, summarize this contract into a client-friendly explanation in simple terms. Right, client-facing summaries is a huge thing we've seen with the previous companies we've worked with, but we've also found internally for our business as well. Taking something quite complex and giving it to a customer is quite a challenging thing. From a legal perspective, lawyers, legal execs, paralegals, even me now, the amount of time I'm spending with lawyers, I can kind of understand the complexities of it, but you have to remember all of this is to make sure that your customer gets the best service they can. Yes, you're going to see an impact from your side, but how does the customer benefit from this? And this is when we see it coming in. If you have a 100-page court summary document, if you have a 50-page contract and you want to summarize it into 4 bullet points for a customer to understand, the prompt becomes that. Can you summarize this entire document into 4 bullet points the customer that has no experience in this section of law will be able to understand? Can you summarize this into a 500-word email? Can you help me draft a review of this to pass to the customer? Again, it's not something that you can't do, but it's something that's time consuming. And actually, you might not be the best at putting that in that customer way. Really see it from there. Now, in litigation support and the argument preparation, again, it's still the billable side of stuff. The ability to rapidly structure persuasive arguments and anticipate opposing counsel's positions is critical on there. One of the biggest things that I will do on this, and we're going to take it just a step back from legal, is I do a lot of training to end users. I do a lot of training internally. I do a lot of customer facing work. I will ask Copilot to pretend to be an instructor or pretend to be an end user or a customer and ask me questions as if it doesn't know anything around that topic. How you can use it as a legal side is uploading your case documents onto there and say, draft what analyze your argument and draft what you think the opposing counsel's argument could be, or analyze the opposing counsel's argument and suggest counter arguments with supporting case law, specifically in the UK. Summarize this deposition transcript, highlighting key statements that support our case. Again, you have the ability to do it, but why wouldn't you offload that onto a robot that does it with 99.9999% accuracy at all times on there? It frees up your time to do things that you need to do more. Preliminary briefs anchored in precedent, structured counter arguments, synthesized deposition transcripts to highlight critical testimonies. All this stuff here allows you to service the customer quicker, and that's what the focus is on in a safe way. Because it has access to your files, or you can manually upload files, you're not worried about uploading sensitive information or documentation on there as well. So again, we can really start to see how we can build quite a nice case for Copilot in the business. Regulations. Look, everything's evolving continuously at a very rapid rate, especially in regulations for AI, but also inside the legal industry as well. Finance, healthcare, technology, and law are the biggest things that we're seeing changing. The ability to monitor these changes, summarizing recent developments, and even compiling compliance checklists is a huge thing on here. Some of the key things you can see on the screen. Regulatory changes affecting this industry and summarizing their impact is a huge one. But also for us, generating compliance checklists. One of the hardest things I have is making stuff look accessible or making it look in a nice way. Normally, it's just a brain dump of information for me. But if I was to say, the EU GDPR AI Act is now in place from June, can you generate a checklist that I have to do inside my business around compliant AI usage? It will bring the information in and give you a checklist and download it as a PDF ready to go for you. Alternatively, create this on Loop, create this into a PowerPoint, create this on an email. It gives you the option to do it from there. Going in now, still on the biddable side, from the client comms and the case management. Again, it all goes through being able to summarize information or generate a clear example for a client who has no legal background. Yeah, it's critical for trust. Also, as well, if clients know you're using AI, they get a better service from it. Okay, it allows you to focus purely on the delivery from there. Now, if we're going to go into the non-biddable use cases, I'm just going to blast through these very quickly. Look, we've got e-discovery and document review, summarization of main arguments, instant ability to sift through vast quantities of information. Rather than you as a human being doing that, the person that's on the paralegal team or the e-discovery and document review team now review it with AI. Go through inconsistency or contradictions. Humans, if I have to read through a 40-page document, I am going to get things wrong. I think the official stats around 70% accuracy for a human brain after 2 pages. If you're going through very, very complex stuff. And look, contract, case management, anything around there can be heavy with data. Fatigue kicks in. You might have had a long day. You might have not got your 8 hours sleep. Right, for me, we do it a lot. We deal with a lot of contracts and end user contracts. The ability for Copilot to go through and just check that contradiction is unrivaled on there. That in itself, personally, for me, is worth what I pay. It's like £30 a month for Copilot. That is worth it on its own. All the other stuff then just becomes a benefit, right? Also, the key facts, dates, and legal references. It's just like, I didn't go to university. A lot of my friends did. It's the referencing at the end of it. Imagine being able to strip out all of those references from any case file or any reference on any document you ever had and put it in one nice document for the team to work on. Also organizing by importance, because it ranks the data, because it understands your need, your talking, your department. It'll go through and then rank that data as well. So huge benefits from there. Going to go into the summarizing and proofreading the legal documents. Again, essential yet time consuming. It's the wood and the trees we're separating, right? It's the same for me. The amount of data I have to consume versus my output is heavily skewed in the wrong way. I should be outputting 70% of my time, but 70% of my time is on input until we started using Copilot in the right way. Summarize the file into one page, proofread the legal filing, condense the deposition transcript into key takeaways for attorney review. It's a huge thing. I wouldn't trust it 100%. I trust it 99%. Always check stuff before it comes out, but you've got the ability to actually summarize vast amount of data and sometimes summarize it better than you can as a human being on there as well. Going to go through also some of the other stuff, case and matter management, underpin successful case outcomes. That is simply it. Automating the generation of timelines, drafting correspondence, even producing standard intake forms for new matters can all be done with Copilot, based on previous work, based on new work, based on what you do. So generate a timeline of key events for the based on the following details. You can upload your case notes or just reference your case notes, draft legal correspondence letters, drafting standard case intake for this type of law case. It just cuts it down. The other thing it does as well, whether you have a small practice or a large practice, if you have a skill gap inside your business, Copilot can help you fill that skill gap in there. So rather than having to go out and hire new people, hire someone that could be quite expensive for a specific thing in the business, you now have a level playing field in the business. Again, everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. Copilot allows that weaknesses to be brought up in there, especially if you're under demand. And look, businesses at the moment are going through a lot of different stuff. We have businesses going through rapid growth, through headcount growth, through mergers and acquisitions. We have businesses going through redundancies. You might be a startup business and trying to make it on your own. This is the perfect level playing field for you. It allows that skill gap to massively minimize and you to be able to go out there and really sort of fend your corner on it. Sorry, I'm clicking on here. Risk assessments. Look, red flags early. We're seeing AI massively come in things like fraud detection and everything else, but the diligence and risk assessments on here. Conduct a background check on this company individual using public records and legal databases. We do it. Every company we work with, I always give them a little look and just see who they are, how they're performing. For you as a legal industry, being able to do that for clients you're representing, for opposing clients, trying to sue someone, go and find everything about the person your opposing counsel is representing. You can do it for companies, you can do it for individual. Again, it's that data analysis and manipulation piece. Review the corporate record and finance statement to potential legal risks, and you can reference that, or you can insert your document as well, and then highlight red flags for the legal audit, focusing on compliance gaps and financial risks. This would be huge on the compliance part for GDPR at the moment. Highlight the red flags in this legal audit, focusing on the compliance gaps on the new GDPR EU Act. Try it and see what your compliance document comes back with. Now, you can either insert your legal audit, you can reference it by name, or you can specifically say only search for the last audits in the last 5 years doing this. Then lastly on here, I'm actually going to pass over to Chad now. Chad's going to go through and he's going to show you how easy it is to do that. So Chad, over to you, my man.
Thank you very much. So as Dan talked about and Eve talked about, we're going to go through some actual functional and useful examples of how we can use Copilot to help us within the legal sector. So as you can see here, I've got a prompt that says, summarize the key legal principles in this case and compare them to any similar online cases. And what I've done here is that I've referenced a document like you would, and because this is Copilot, it's completely GDPR compliant. Now we can see that Copilot has analysed this document with some lovely lines to make it really easy to digest and read. And as well as this, it has linked and referenced relevant case studies. So for example, we can see that Copilot's pulled out four points on negligence, failure to warn, occupiers liability, and contributory negligence. Fantastic. Now let's say I want to find a similar case. We can see that it's highlighted in blue. And if I click on that, Copilot is going to open a new tab and take us directly to the case study. And we can see it's got that there. And it also wants me to give me some cookies, but I won't accept that right now. So that's what I love about Copilot, is that it will reference the source where it gets its information from. And when we put a prompt into Copilot, it also suggests some follow-up. For example, it can summarize the key difference between the case and explain how the legal principles apply to Smith's case. So if I just click that and enter, Copilot is now going to compare these case studies we've found online to the document that we've attached.
I think just to add on to this, Chad, as well, very quickly, is one of the biggest things, if you're using other third-party solutions, it will give you an answer, but sometimes it doesn't always tell you where the data came from. One of the biggest things that we recognize with Copilot is that, as you can see on the screen there's a little number 1, there's number 2. Any information that you search from the internet compared against your case law, it will give you the actual links of where the document comes from. So you can then go through and kind of sanity check for yourself to make sure it's actually specific. So on the rope walk chambers, for example, if you were to click on that, it will take you through to the website for the exact part it does it. So that will also do it for the documents it pulls through on information as well. So if you ask it just to summarize, to find any case law regarding X, Y, and Z, it will tell you the documents it got it from and exactly where that document it came from. So again, massively beneficial point of Copilot on there. Back over to you, Joe.
Thank you. Yeah, Dan's exactly right. We don't have to worry about hallucination as people find in other tools. It's compliant and it references where we get those sources from. So I'm going to open a new tab, and here's one I made earlier, as they say. And this time I'm going to summarize the information from this file. So I've got legal audit report attached, and translate that into a short, client-friendly summarization without legal jargon. So I'll click that. And this would be useful for my girlfriend who's actually studying her LPC and tries to tell me what she's studying. Because I don't have a background in law, I don't understand what she's saying. So maybe I should give her some training on Copilot so I can be a better listener as a boyfriend. Anyway, so as we can see, Copilot has translated all this legal jargon-heavy information into information that someone without a legal background, such as myself, can understand. We can see it's breaking it down into different areas of key findings, recommendations, bottom line. Now, we'll see at the end, and this is what I love. Let me know if you'd like this turned into a slide, email, or one pager. So if I say, make this a one pager, please, what Copilot can do is it can turn this into a Word document that we can then directly send to a client if we want to, or put into that format. So again, I prepared this earlier, and I'll just drag my screen over. Copilot has put this all into a nice template for me, and I could send this document out to a client. Now, of course, I wouldn't say do this without reading it, but Copilot can create documents for us as simply as that, just by asking it. And now we're going to see that I can click on this link, and in the top right-hand corner, it will give us the option to download it. So Copilot really is...
Just adding on to this chat as well, is because it has interaction between all of your applications. So again, PowerPoint, Excel, Word, Outlook, Teams. You've got the ability to, unlike other tools, look, I love ChatGPT. I think it's a great tool, but it doesn't interact with my other applications. So being able to instantly create this as a PowerPoint slide, to instantly visualize this, or to instantly create it as something that can be edited by the team, it becomes quite a natural interaction from there.
Yeah, completely agree, Dan. And now I'll just go over to, sorry, one sec. So my final one, we're going to generate a persuasive legal brief for a case involving copyright infringement using a precedent from UK law. And I'll send that in. And just to clarify, I'm saying use precedent from UK law, as using precedent from US law or Albanian law wouldn't be as useful in our instances, being based in the UK. So we can see it's loading all up here, and it's split it up again in the beautiful, easy to read presentation. And as Dan talked about earlier, it's got the little numbers at the end, which basically is a link to the source that it's referencing for information to compile all of this information. So here we've got a brief set out for us like that. And just imagine that you don't have to start from scratch. What Copilot is brilliant for, and I love saying to the clients that we work with, is that it gets that foundation done for you. It's not saying it's the finished product, but it can do a lot of that groundwork and fill that foundation. So for example, once again, if I click on the number at the end, click the little 2, and I open that up, it's going to take me into the reference where it got that information. And here we've got our case studies that we can look. And we know that Copilot isn't hallucinating or falsifying any information. We all know that it's sound and it's resolute. And if, again, what Copilot will do is it will give us prompts that we can do to add more legal precedents, make the brief a bit more persuasive. So we could change the style or tone. Sometimes what me and Dan will do, we'll get Copilot to write text in Shakespearean style with like iambic pentameter and all that malarkey. I don't think you'll need that when writing to clients or to your colleagues, but you can change the style or tone that you want to. Yeah. And that's it for me on my use cases, Dan. I'll just go back over to you.
Nice one. Cheers, Chad. I'll take the screen. Me back on the screen. Right. Okay. So lastly, how can we get started with how to get started now? Basically, there's 5 things you need to think about in any adoption piece on this. Eve, I'll bring you back on the screen as well. Just a heads up. So how to get started? Data strategy and governance. You know, Copilot is fed by data. If you give it good data, you get good responses. A lot of businesses are facing challenges on this. Reach out to CSG, see how we can help you on the governance piece, and especially around your strategy. Vision and value sessions. These are key to make sure your implementation goes well. So a vision and value session is where we and the team would sit with you and we'd look at and identify your high value use cases, where to invest, where to use the free version, how to make sure that you stay compliant on there, and also build a business case for AI, because at the moment it's very up in the air, right? It is super up in the air in the terms of what tool do I use, how do I use it, what's the roadmap going forward. We cover training, so being able to train employees on a one-by-one basis or in group training sessions, how to use Copilot safely and confidently, but also in the way that Chad has shown you on there, how to use the prompts, how to then interrogate the data, how to sanity check, how to make sure that the data you're putting in and getting out actually is beneficial, rather than just having this great tool and going, I think we can do this. Proof of value, so being able to take departments and creating champion programs, and also as well, we have something called a prompt library. I think, Chad, you're going to demo the prompt library, is that right? You're going to show on how that works?
Yeah,
cool.
I can do that.
So let me just give you back the screen, Chad. Got the power to just take people on and off screen. This is great.
Don't abuse it there. Do not abuse that power. Okay, I know you wouldn't. So, as Dan talked about, this is Prompt Buddy, which CSG can help you set up on your system. This is an example where we have over 400 plus legal prompts, and that you can filter into different areas by use cases. In this instance, we have personas. So we've got barrister, commercial real estate, and we can see there's little numbers for the prompts unique to this occupation. So, for example, if we go down, and let's say you're in litigations and disputes, and we click on that, we're going to see all the relevant prompts that we have tested with clients, and we know that they work. So, for example, if I wanted to draft a complaint for a breach of contract, I would click on that, and whilst that loads, it would that would be a prompt. Here we go. We've got the prompt here, and it tells me the app to use it. Business chat. I would copy that in, and I would put that into. I could put that into. I could create a new chat, and I could put that in. Just copy and paste it, and we've got that there to work. Now I won't go for examples, but more I want to show you that we've got lots of prompts, and Prompt Buddy is a great way for across your organization to see the prompts that work, and even we can see that people can like and favorite prompts. For example, we can see a like section here, and that could be prompts that, let's say you're in the commercial real estate and you say, oh, I've used this prompt and I really like it. If you like it, it will come into a table, kind of like the Premier League, and instead of getting points for a win, you get a like for every time someone uses it, and they verify that it's relevant to them. They just like it, and it gets pushed to the top of the table. You can also sort these prompts out by department, by app. So that could be in Excel, in PowerPoint, in Words, in OneNote, and we'll see different prompts in there. And it's just a fantastic way to get your prompts rolled out across the organization and to see what's really, really working.
I think just adding on to that as well. Cheers, Chad. I think just on there, let me just share my screen again. I think the key thing on that is that if you buy a solution, people expect to kind of use it straight away. Help us share my screen. People want to be able to use it straight away, and some of the hardest things I find sometimes that businesses face is knowing what prompt to use, when to use it, in what application. We have that prompt library ready for you. You can break it down again, persona by department. You can see instructions of how to use it. You've also got the option to speak to the team at CSG and us if there's an issue with it, if you need help, if it's not working properly, if you want to try something different. It's an entire community on there. So you've got your ready-made prompts that have been tested with over 10,000 lawyers that we've worked with. And it's kind of the secret sauce to success on there. So it's a real great addition onto it. It can constantly be added to. You can have a stripped down version. You can customize it to exactly what you want. But it's almost you buying a solution or you buying a tool that's then going to fix a problem. This is just another added layer that we can provide on top of that. So I'm going to bring Eve in now. Eve, any questions or anything you want to add on to this?
Hello, thank you. And yeah, firstly, thank you for that both. That was a really detailed, and I love to see those prompts. That was really exciting. That was what I was most looking forward to. Don't call me sad, but I was really looking forward to that part. So thank you. So yeah, we have had a few questions as you've been chatting, and the first one was how can we audit or control how much data that Copilot processes?
Cool. Yeah. So in the admin center for Copilot itself, for each individual user, you can go through and you can turn off entire sections of your SharePoint. You can also turn off web access and only have it as an internal only tool. I've seen certain departments only favor that. So they don't want the data corrupted or influenced by any outside data at all. So you can do that through Admin Center. In terms of your audit as well, so you're able to audit every single request, every single part of data that goes through. So if you do need to do a subject access request or anything that involves customers' data, you're able to run a report straight on that. So because it inherits the controls of M365, it'd be exactly the same as auditing any part of your data from M365 existing at the moment. It's all built in through the admin center on there. Very easy to do.
Lovely, thank you. And are there any risks of malpractice or liability if Copilot's generating content that is incorrect or misleading?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Are there any risks of malpractice or liability to the legal practice if they're pushing out content that Copilot's generated that is incorrect?
Yeah, actually there is. Right now, Copilot is a fantastic tool to get you started. Copilot is your assistant. Think of Copilot as like a really quick intern that doesn't get tired. I would not give my intern the final say on anything I do. I always have to have a human checkpoint in place. I would also recommend in businesses that you have things such as an AI policy, when to use data, when not to use data, when to send to customers, when not to send to customers. Do you have stop gaps? Do you have a data protection officer? Again, we can help you with that if you haven't got it. But yeah, there is a risk for anything, any AI tool that you're using on there. And just because it's Microsoft and it's Copilot, it's the most safe and compliant offering out there in the market, there is still a risk. In exactly the same way from malpractice, if you as a human do not sanity check yourself before you send something, it's just amplified slightly with AI. Now, what we're seeing is a lot of people are using AI, and I applaud any business doing it. However, there needs to be some stopgaps in place, and you do need a solid AI, almost like compliance officer or a compliance document to make sure on there. But my biggest advice would be do not trust any AI solution 100%. Make sure you read it, make sure that you have the final say before it gets sent out on there. Because the risk actually is exactly the same as a human risk. If you make a mistake, it's malpractice. If you don't check the data you sent, it's malpractice. It's just easier to do with AI. But Copilot is the safest way that you have on there with all the stopgaps in place.
Where is the data processed and stored, and is it meeting the GDPR, HIPAA, and other relevant compliance demands?
Testing me out here. Yeah, it's compliant against everything. So the data is only stored on your M365 tenant. The request goes up to the Microsoft mothership, but the data actually never leaves your tenancy. The reason it's compliant with the GDPR EU Act, and I think it's section 17 on this, is that the data doesn't actually train the model. None of the data actually leaves your tenant. Therefore, if you need to delete any data or provide any, what's the word? If you need to prove where the data is gone, you can show every step along the way. So yeah, for HPIAA, GDPR, EU GDPR, ISO 42001, everything is absolutely compliant on there, as long as your tenant is set up correctly to do so. Copilot will inherit your M365 security settings. So if you are compliant on your M365 tenant, Copilot will be compliant alongside those as well.
Eve, can I just quickly, we've got from the Q&A section, I think Karis and Simon have got some questions. Maybe Dan could answer them. So Karis wants to know, if Copilot can work with legal research databases such as LexisNexis or PLC.
Yeah, so one of the benefits you have with Copilot is extensibility into third-party applications. So you can bring the data from third-party tools. So LexisNexis, PLC, iManage, you can build connectors straight into that. As by default, Copilot only uses M365 data, i.e. SharePoint, OneDrive, and everything else, but you can connect into any legal databases that has an API. You can do that through Copilot Studio. We didn't talk too much about that, but the ability to build an agent, which is just something specifically for that, you absolutely can connect into that as well.
We have another one as well from Simon Dodd, and Simon's saying that loves Copilot and a heavy user, and he'd like the Pro version. However, the price point of the Copilot Pro, £19 per month, is quite limiting from a firm-wide perspective. Is there any updates on any changes to pricing in the future?
I'm not Microsoft.
Simon?
I'm not Microsoft. I am not Microsoft, so I can't answer a yes or no on the Microsoft side. However, what I can say is that businesses who work with firm-wide rollouts, yeah, you're absolutely correct. If you are spending that much on every single person, it stacks up. If you do a vision and value session, sometimes you find the entire team doesn't need it. So you can really leverage some of the free tools inside Copilot on some of the departments. So yeah, I don't personally see a price reduction coming. I'm not Microsoft, so don't take me verbatim on that. But you can still use Copilot in a way that's cost efficient to your business.
That's brilliant.
Be happy to talk more around that.
Lovely. And I think we've got time for one more question, and that is regarding, can Copilot be customized? I think we have discussed this briefly, but can Copilot be customized for specific practice areas?
Um, no. Here's the answer to it. Yes and no. So Copilot can be customized in the sense of you can restrict the data and restrict what Copilot sees. The customization truly comes in through agents. Simon Dodds put audit trail. Yes, you're right. Audit trail was what I was looking for. But in terms of the customization, Copilot has the ability to build Copilot agents in Copilot Studio. Now, an agent is the ultimate customization. It's the ultimate customization you can do because you can build your own personal agent for your own personal workforce. So rather than having Copilot being able to see all data, all applications, if you specifically want to use it with iManage or LexisNexis, you could build one specifically for that. You can give it instructions only to do a certain thing with a certain set of data with a specified output. And that's the beauty of Copilot because it ties into everything. Copilot M365 is your general Google Maps, tells you where you need to go. It will tell you how to get there and it'll give you some suggestions. You could have an actual autopilot, which is your agent. It will get you there however you need to get there. It will take you on a train, it will take you on a plane, but it will give you the end result that you want on there as well. So yeah, that's exactly how you do your customization. And look, if you're exploring agents, we build a lot of agents. CSG can build you agents. We can get as in deep or as top level as you need to go on there. So that's your customization piece.
Yeah, thank you so much. And that's all for the questions. Thank you so much both for that really good demo and chat. And thank you everyone for joining this morning. We've really done well for the time. We are literally on the hour. So I'm very impressed with that.
Almost like we've done it before, Eve. Almost like we've done this before.
Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought? Well, thank you again for everyone joining. If there's any follow-up questions you'd like to ask, then please don't hesitate to give CSG a call today, and we can give a reach out to all the customers and prospects who've joined. We do have one
I'm going to answer that very quickly, if that's cool. Simon Dodd has put, there is a fear factor from some senior management that someone using Copilot can see firm-wide information. Although I know this is incorrect and I've explained such theory, do you have any documentation? Yes. Right. So Copilot will only see the data that you as the individual have the access to. This is a double-edged sword because if your data is set up correctly, me or Chad will not be able to see any of my documents on there. If your data isn't set up correctly and you maybe have a legacy data structure in place where everyone can see everything, then yeah, Copilot will be able to see stuff. But that's what comes into what CSG offer is that whole, let's do a quick review of your data. If Copilot is set up correctly, Chad cannot see my chats, he can't see my emails, he cannot see anything that I do from a work point unless I specifically share that file with Chad or work on a project with him. I can send some stuff over to Eve regarding how that works from an orchestration point, and she can send that over to you, Simon. Or if you want to book in a call with Eve and any of us, we're more than happy to go through it. But absolutely, Copilot cannot be used as a snooping tool. It only has access. I cannot say, show me all of Chad's chats. It will not do it. I can say, show me any chats that Chad is involved in with me, and we've talked together, but it's not a snooping tool. There is a danger that if your data is not set up correctly, and I blame lockdown for this. Lockdown, everyone had the ability to set up their own teams, to invite people in. If that is the data you're looking at, then potential risk on there. But there's a lot of things we can do in place before you turn it on to do it. The other thing I would recommend around that is having a proof of concept group for maybe 10% of your staff. So if you took one from each department, set them up for Copilot, you can do a very quick audit and see what they have access to. Once you've done that, CSG and ourselves, we can then roll that out to a wider team in terms of permissions, security groups on Entra and things like that. So yeah, really easy to do, but everyone's got bad data. So yeah.
Definitely. Thank you. Cool. That seems to be all the questions. So thank you for that. Really appreciate it. CSG are on hand all day. So if you do want to set up a meeting with your account manager to discuss the Copilot licenses with us, then please do reach out. And if you are new here, then please reach out to me on this chat or sales@csgrp.co.uk or give us a call. Like I said, we're here all day to give you any support and advice that you need. Thank you all for joining again. Chad and Dan, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.